first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Maxime, for agreeing to join in this seminar series. It's really our pleasure to have you with us today.
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation. It's my pleasure.
My colleagues, let me introduce Dr. Maxime to all of you. So today, Dr. Maxime will be talking about boosting the effectiveness of education with AI mentors. So Dr. Maxime, he's the CEO and director for MAGMA Learning. It's a company specializing in enhancing education through artificial intelligence. He holds a PhD in theoretical physics from the University of Oxford. So that's, I mean, that's really something interesting. So Dr. Maxime, the floor is yours. So my colleagues, if you have any question, you can send your question in the chat. So as you know, this workshop will be two parts. The first part is basically the speech, 1 hour, and the second part, it will be hands-on. So Maxime, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm very excited to be with you and talk about AI and what AI can do for education, which is a topic I've been thinking about for the last 5 years or so. So can you see my screen here? You should see this orange circle on the black background. You can see that. Okay, for sure. So I will be kind of exploring those different topics through our website, which has kind of a lot of content on it, which is organized in some sort of unique way that we're trying to invent, in a sense. So this will be an interesting experiment. So I see people are still joining. Yeah, okay. So yeah, of course, so we'll talk about the different topics about what is good learning, what is AI, and how do they combine, and also what we have developed in terms of a software solution for that purpose. And of course, there will be sort of different sections, and of course, if you have questions during the talk, feel free to write it in the chat, or you can just interrupt me and ask questions. So feel free to be very participative, and it will be more fun for everybody this way. All right, so this is the website. So this is MAGMA Learning website. So MAGMA Learning is, well, first you can see that this is kind of a planet here. So I guess you are around here at the moment, and I'm just a little bit north here in Switzerland. So I'm in Lausanne on the Lake Geneva, and you see we're not so distant from each other. So what I can tell you is that it might sound strange, like first the name MAGMA Learning. So what was the inspiration for that? I think the inspiration was that when we talk about the word magma, it's very evocative of our place in the universe, because we certainly realize that we are just spending our entire life on a very thin crust, which is basically on a ball of magma that is just traveling through space in the darkness, in the infinite darkness of space. So the metaphor is that we're trying to you know, expand the mind to think beyond our everyday needs and to think of what is our place in the universe and in the cosmos. And then, of course, the answer is that our mission, in a sense, in the universe is to try to learn as much as possible about the universe and to discover all of its wonders. So this is why we are called MAGMA Learning, and we can see here that it's indeed a global mission, and it concerns every one of us. So here you see this website is very strange. When you arrive, there's almost nothing on it, and it seems completely empty. There's no text, you cannot scroll or anything. There's no navigation, no pages. But in fact, if you click on the sphere, you will see some text. So it will say MAGMA Learning, and then this is kind of our mission. So we help humans learn better thanks to our personal AI mentor app called MAGMA Mentor. So this is basically the one line or one sentence pitch of what we're doing. And the website is organized in this kind of hierarchical way, in which we can go deeper and deeper into the meaning of all of the words, in a sense, that, that appear. For example, if I click on Learn here, it will go into the next level, and we see here that there are a few different worlds that opened up and that correspond to what was said at the level above. So this is in educational sciences. This is called elaboration. And it's this process of starting with an overview, like a general summary of the situation or the context, and then gradually elaborating on them and going deeper into the details, and having this opportunity to go back and forth between the kind of big picture level and the detail level that can go deeper and deeper into the expertise level. So, so this is what I will use today as guidelines for the first hour for the kind of conceptual presentation of what we do. And indeed, in the second hour, we'll look at the app itself, so the app MAGMA Mentor, and we can all try to get it to work and to see all of its functionalities and what it can bring in terms of boosting the effectiveness of education. Is everything clear so far? Any questions, any reactions?
Yeah, everything's clear.
Okay, wonderful. So yeah, let's dive in. So we see that it starts with the we here. So maybe the first place to start is indeed the About Us section. So who are we? And we see that the kind of the summary of this is that we're a team of extreme learners on a mission to elevate human intelligence. So indeed, Said has mentioned that I have a PhD in theoretical physics, or more precisely in string theory, and my colleagues are also mathematicians and physicists, and we're really very interested in learning as a culture. And indeed, if we go in, we can see that all of those kind of concepts that I just mentioned open up, and we can see more and more detail about them. So maybe I'll start quickly by myself. So indeed, I'm a theoretical physicist, but I also studied philosophy and art. So I'm not like the typical physicist. I also have interests that are very different. And indeed, I've done research in a lot of institutions, like in Paris or in Oxford, in Hamburg, and also in Princeton in the US. And I think indeed that learning is the most fundamental phenomenon that shapes our universe. So this is my motivation. First, to have created the company MAGMA Learning, and also for trying to boost the effectiveness of learning. And if you want, we can connect on LinkedIn or X, and this could be super fun. So this is what is about myself. So we can look at the mission next. So the realization that I had in 2019 is that there is indeed this new technology, which is artificial intelligence, that is emerging and that is extremely powerful and can do a lot of very impressive things at the level or even beyond the level of a human. For example, in chess or in certain games or in pattern recognitions in images, the AI systems are already superhuman. And we see now with the systems like large language models, like ChatGPT and so on, that they become extremely good at writing text also, and they start also to think pretty accurately and so on. So there is really something that is emerging that is extremely significant in the history of technology and indeed in the history of humankind. And the vision is that this new powerful AI that is emerging, its most interesting application would be to focus it on our human intelligence and to help us develop and grow our human intelligence. So it's kind of a connection of two types of intelligence, artificial intelligence and human intelligence. And if we can connect them in the right way, then they can, in a sense, amplify each other and help us develop and fulfill our true potential. So in a sense, this is the mission. A little bit about the history. So I mentioned it was created in 2019 out of EPFL, which is a technological university here in Lausanne. It's one of the top 20 best universities in the world. And we've been growing every year since then. And now we're kind of a global company. And of course, if you want to contact us, and we're based in Lausanne, Switzerland, you can either call us or contact us at contact@magmalearning.com. I can also write my personal email so you can have access to me directly. So I write this in the chat here. So it's just maxime@magmalearning.com. So feel free at any time to send us an email. So this is kind of the summary about us. And now we can dive into some other topics here. So maybe the next one that's interesting would be what is learning? Because what we do is that we help people learn, but how do we do this and what is exactly effective learning? So for that, we need to turn to, of course, scientific evidences. And we follow quite closely what is going on in the learning sciences and what are the principles that have been demonstrated to be very effective and to lead to impactful learning. And it's been a subject of research for, let's say, a century and a half. And there's a lot of papers in cognitive psychology, also in neuroscience, and yeah, it's a very multidisciplinary field that tries to understand how can we learn the best. We have a white paper about this, so if you want to consult the white paper, you can access it here. So it's like a dozen pages PDF that will go into a little bit of detail about all the principles of learning, and you also get some references at the end. So feel free to have a look at this if you're interested in this. So if we continue diving in, we see that there are a few principles here, and indeed the one that has been shown to be the most powerful by people like Bloom in educational sciences is personalization. And personalization means that the learning process itself will adapt to the needs, but also the abilities of each learner or each student. And this is really crucial because everybody is very different, everybody is unique, and they approach a subject with a different perspective. And the way that they kind of absorb the material is also very unique, and their brain will work in ways that really needs to be understood if we want to help them as much as possible to progress. So one aspect of this is indeed that this is a little bit what I've just said, that everybody has very different background knowledge. So when you approach a topic, you will see it very differently if you already have connected knowledge or if it's something that is completely new to you and you have nothing familiar in your mind. And also in terms of motivations and interest, if you have different goals in mind, it will also mean that your learning trajectory will look very different. And the abilities, so some people learn very fast, and also we need to take into account the memory abilities, because some people will forget faster than other people, and even for one given student, they can very well forget very slowly in one subject, maybe because they like it, or maybe because they have a lot of knowledge about it already, and they might forget much faster in a different subject. So this variability is really quite large and significant, and it's impossible to learn successfully if we don't take all of those variations from individual to individual into account. So how do we do that? So it's for a human professor or teacher, it's very hard to understand exactly what is going on in the mind of tens or hundreds of students, because they all have a lot going on and they've had a lot of previous experiences and they have different motivations and so on. So this is typically something that we know from a scientific point of view. We know that personalization is extremely good, but no one knows how to implement it with a human approach, because even if we could afford having a personal tutor, one-to-one tutor for a student, this would not mean that that personal tutor understands really deeply what's going on in the brain of his student. So there's really a lot of room here to improve traditional education, which is usually very uniformized and not at all personalized. And the way that we do it is that there is an AI mentor on one side, as we can see here on the picture, and then you have the student on the other side. And what will happen is that there is kind of a learning in the two directions. So when they interact, the knowledge will flow from the mentor to the student, but the reactions and the interactions of the student will also feed back into the AI mentor, who will kind of learn a mind model of everything that is going on in the brain or the mind of the student. And this will create some sort of virtuous circle where the learning goes in two directions, and the more they interact, the more precise the mentor understands the mind of the student, and therefore the better it can personalize the process and make it more and more effective. So this is really like a spiral of effectiveness that takes place when we can connect AI and human intelligence. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I see there's a question, where can we get the article that was mentioned earlier? Yes, so you can access it on the website itself. So maybe I should give you the URL of the website. So this is the website itself. And I can also give you, I guess, the paper. So here. So it has its own URL here. So here you can access it directly. Any other questions? Is this something you are very familiar with, all those kind of principles from the learning sciences, or is this something that you want to have some details about?
That's
Okay.
honestly, that's something interesting. I mean, about mind model. So I think it will be interesting for everyone. Yeah. So.
Okay, great. So here I can show you one example of what personalization might look like. And it's to do with what is usually referred to as forgetting curves. So we know that when we learn something like on this graph here, our understanding goes to 100%, but very quickly it will fall down, exponentially fast, it will fall down. And there are some models to try to mimic this behavior that are used to reactivate the right content at the right moment, but they are very rigid, and also they do not take into account the individual variations from one person to the next. Because if you take two different students and you tell them the same thing, and you ask them 1 week later, they will remember very differently what you've told them. So most models of learning curves are very homogeneous and rigid, whereas our AI is able to personalize the way that the memory works to each of the students. So this means that the mind models that I described before are not just static, they're not just you know this and you know that, but they evolve in time. So they know that the knowledge is kind of disappearing, and it disappears at different speeds for different learners. So here we can see that those curves will vary depending on where you are in your learning progress, and also a lot of characteristics, which could be genetic, or it could be historic, or it could be your motivation, and so on. So there's a lot of reasons. Yeah, so this is what I had to say about personalization. We can look at micro-learning here next. So this is also a principle that is has been highlighted by the learning sciences as a very effective way of learning. So usually there's a confusion about this, because the goal of learning or education is usually to master some complex skills, as we see here. And the complex skills will combine a lot of elements and variables and decisions and so on. And therefore, there is this tendency to think that a good way to learn is to put the students in front of very complex situations in order to develop their complex skills. But in fact, it has been shown that this is exactly the opposite. And this approach is really not a good approach, because it will overload the brain of the students, and they will very quickly saturate, and they won't be able to see clearly and gradually make progress. They might be very frustrated or panicked, or they might get it right at first, but then quickly forget it and not be able to transfer it to a different situation. So instead of embracing this kind of complexity in the teaching process, what is recommended in the learning sciences is to decompose the complexity into simple building blocks, and then making sure that those are mastered one by one, in a sense, by the students, and then that they are connected in their minds, and gradually they build up to give the end result that is desired, which is a complex competency, but that has been gradually built by a very gradual progress. So this is kind of what is represented in this picture. On one side, we have text, which is kind of abstract conceptual knowledge. Then it's, in this case, it's something about how to run. So this is kind of a visual example. And the idea is to break it down into small digestible elements and master all of this, and then combine everything to get to the actual skill that is the target of the education. So that there is a process of first simplification and then consolidation. And indeed, this is what is represented here. And yeah, this, in a sense, I've already mentioned this. And this is the concept of micro-learning, at least how we understand it, is that we don't try to learn everything at once. We try to break it down into micro learning pieces. And then we make sure that this is assimilated and consolidated into the long-term memory. And gradually we connect them to achieve excellence. Yeah, so those are the competencies. But you might think it's a lot of work, because in principle you have already written down lecture notes or PowerPoints or the kind of conceptual theoretical material for the courses, and then it will be a lot of work to then break it down into small, simple building blocks. And also you need to have a lot of variety to fit all these personalized needs that your students may have. So this is where AI can first kind of be useful. is that it can take your documents and it can then generate automatically a lot of micro-learning contents, which means that it will understand and analyze your contents, and it will then be able to transform it into something that is more like micro-learning. So it's like small summaries and interactivity with questions and so on. So this process here is comes automatically thanks to AI and large language models like ChatGPT and the likes. And finally, you might think, well, this approach of micro-learning, what sort of subjects does this apply to? And in fact, and this will be kind of a theme throughout the presentation, is that this approach that we push forward really applies to learning anything. So it can boost learning regardless of the subject that you're focused on. So it could be hard skills like scientific skills, mathematics, sciences, so on. Or it could be soft skills, maybe management or like communication. It could be really anything, any academic subject or even like more practical subjects that you can imagine. This micro-learning approach is the recommended way, and this is what we're pushing forward. Of course, if you're learning something very practical, like a musical instrument, like the piano or something like this, at some point you will need to have your fingers on the piano. So the theoretical learning that can be enhanced by AI is very useful to move into practice, but you still have to do the practice yourself. Okay, so this was this part about micro-learning. I mentioned already a bit about spaced reactivation. So this is also one of the most powerful ways to enhance the outcome of learning, is to have this those reactivations of the learning. So you cannot have something like a piece of knowledge just exposed to you and remember it forever. This is just not the way the brain works. The brain is very, very good at forgetting a lot of things. And maybe this is a benefit because we don't want to remember like every single thing that happened like 3 weeks ago or every detail of our everyday life. So the brain will be forgetting a lot of things, and we need to send signals to the brain that actually some specific piece of knowledge is important and that we would like them to remember them in the future. And the way to do this, the way to send this message to the brain, is to reactivate the same knowledge just at the right moment. So it means not too early, because this would be just boring and redundant, and also not too late, because if it's too late, we just start from zero again and again. So we see this is what this animation shows. So here we learn something, completely forget it, and then learn it again and again, and then completely forget it again. Whereas here, there is a reactivation that happens in the middle, somewhere in the middle, and each time the learning becomes stronger and stronger, and the forgetting speed slows down. So we see that in the blue line, the forgetting curve is very almost flat, indicating that this piece of knowledge is in the long-term memory. Another piece of another principle, let's say, that is crucial for effective learning is notion of feedback. So if we stay with the example of trying to learn the piano, you cannot imagine possibly learning the piano if you have like earplugs that blocks any sound, and you're just pressing some keys on the keyboard, but you have no idea actually if this is making a beautiful sound or if it's complete chaos. So when we read a book or when we go to a lecture and we listen, in fact, we have zero feedback because things are just coming one way in our mind. And if we would just wait 1 week, we have no idea if we have forgotten it or if we still remember it, and if we've been able to apply what we've learned. So if we want to make progress, it's very important to have visibility. Are we going in the right direction or not? And if we just like keep ingesting information and then waiting, we just don't know, and we are in the same position as piano student who doesn't hear himself play at all. So this is why our AI is constantly giving feedback to the learners. And this is done in a way that we find the most intuitive. So it's a visualization, and you will see a lot of little spheres. Each of those spheres will represent a key concept that you're trying to master, and the brightness of that concept will represent how well you master it. So if it's very shiny, like we see on the right here, then it means it's an expert. And if it's very dark here, it means it's a new student and they don't have a lot of solid knowledge at the moment. But at every moment, they can see in front of them if it's shiny, meaning that they master it, or if it's dark, meaning that either they don't know it yet, or they knew it last week, but then they forgot it. So the system will really adapt to the true state of their knowledge levels in all the subjects that they're studying. And the last step here is this principle of active learning. And here it's also something that is often misunderstood, is that if you want to learn very effectively, the best way is not just to passively look at a paragraph of text or to passively listen to your professor or watch a video or something. Because if you do something passively, your brain will only kind of half engage with it. And it will not send the signals that this is something important, actionable, and that should be really saved in memory. So again, the learning sciences recommend that the learning should be very active. And the best way to do this is instead of having only text to go through and kind of fall asleep, the best way is to always have interactive contents in the form of questions, for example, that will always kind of involve actively the students into the learning process. So this is why you will see later on our app, we mostly have questions that will always come stimulate the learning, and there is not so much emphasis that is placed on purely passively reading text and going and scrolling through, a lot of text. So in most people's minds, when they see questions, they think it's an exam or it's a test or it's an assessment or something. But in fact, questions are the best way to learn. It's really helping the learning process. And it's not so much about evaluating or testing. And this is really through those interactions, through this active learning, that we can create a connection between the AI mentor on one side and the human learner on the other side. They are constantly kind of answering and asking questions to each other. All right, so this is what kind of a little introduction to the learning sciences. Are there any questions about this chapter? Oh, I see there is comments. So the scope of use is not yet clear for me. Do teachers introduce to his students to facilitate their learning, or can even student use it to facilitate their own learning without teaching or teachers? Oh yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. So in fact, we do both, but historically, when we work with academic institutions, it's more kind of top down. So it means that it's a decision that is taken at the department level, or maybe just one professor decides to use this AI mentor for his course. And then we have a process of creating the app for the course, and then it's offered to the students throughout the semester or the academic year, for example. But so this is the recommended way, is to kind of do it through the faculty and then kind of provide it to the students. But of course, it's also possible to go bottom up in a sense. So one student might decide, oh, I have this 100 pages of lecture notes. I will just download the app and I will upload my lecture notes in the app, and the AI mentor will help me go through my academic success more effectively. So in fact, the answer to the question is that both are possible. But I think if we want the highest quality possible, then it's better to go through the faculty or the the management of the university, and to then have something that is very high level that is then provided to all of the students. There's a question about unicity. Maybe this was explained already, but basically unicity, I don't know, maybe it's not exactly the right word, but it just means that we're all unique, and we have to take into account that we are unique. So maybe uniqueness or would be a better word. Any more questions about the learning? All right, so in that case, I guess we can move on to artificial intelligence. So yeah, so what is artificial intelligence? So when we hear this word, maybe this was not the best choice of words at the time, but it was decided in the 1950s, I think, to call this kind of algorithms artificial intelligence, because they are able to reproduce some aspects of what we call intelligence in humans. And most specifically, they're able to learn from patterns, and then to be able to perform actions or decisions like pattern recognition or text generation and so on. So those are systems that share with humans this ability to learn from experience and then be able to act in a way that looks intelligent. If we go to a technical level, all those systems that we talk about today are usually based on artificial neural networks. So it's just, let's say, a software architecture that mimics the connectivity of neurons in the human brain. So it's like thinking of like millions or billions of neurons that are connected by synapses, and through the learning process, the connections will be either strengthened or weakened depending on the outcome that is desired. So neural networks are really the key behind what we call AI, and it's based on this machine learning capability to improve a behavior based on experience from data. So what have we done at MAGMA Learning? We have developed and trained a specific type of AI. And that specific type of AI has been trained not on words like ChatGPT, or not on images like some image recognition models, but it has been trained on learning data. So we have gathered millions and millions of learners' data, and we have trained some neural networks through this process of machine learning to really understand how the human learning process works. So how do we learn? How do we forget? When do we need to reactivate? And what is the best kind of learning trajectory that brings us as optimally as possible from ignorance to mastery? And this is really, if you need to take home only one point from this presentation, is that what we do is that we train an AI that learns from the learners on how to help them learn better. So it's a very kind of cyclical thing. It's like learning, it's like an AI learning about learning in order to make it better. And we are kind of unique in the world for doing this. I mean, there are many people that would say, oh, we do AI-powered learning and so on. But usually what they mean is like a small recommender system saying, for example, oh, you took this course and therefore your next course should be this. So it's a bit like Netflix or Amazon. You've bought that, then therefore you should buy this next. So this is kind of so dehumanizing, because it's like, oh, we need to all buy the same things, watch the same things, learn the same things in the same sequence. So this is not at all what we do. What we do is much, much deeper, and it is connecting this machine learning and focusing it on human learning in order to understand how it works and therefore how to make it stronger. As I mentioned, this is based on neural networks, and there is this connection between the artificial neural networks on one side that is trying to learn what happens in the biological neural network in our brain. The motivation, of course, grows when you use the app, because the more you use it, the more the app learns about what works for you and what satisfies you and brings you joy, the joy of learning, which does involve some difficulty, but so it's not like purely pleasure. It can never be purely pleasure if you're trying to learn something seriously, but it will make sure that you feel this joy of learning. And to do that, it needs to personalize the process. So the more you use it, the more you become kind of in love with it and motivated to learn more and more. So we're trying to have this virtuous circle. And reinforcement learning is also one of the techniques that we use to make sure that the students learn in a maximally effective way. So is there any question about this AI? Do you want more detail maybe about what the technicalities of AI?
I think Maxime, what you present, it will be okay, because we have colleagues, they are not from like the College of IT or engineering or others, you know. We may have colleagues from maybe College of Science, so we don't need like to go deeper in details. But if anyone of our colleagues has a question, he or she can just write in the chat and you can answer that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic, sounds good. So if there are no questions, we can move on to the next section. So, which is the customers. So we work with all types of learners. So as I mentioned before, it could be just people that are just individuals that are curious and they just want to download the app and learn maybe their hobbies or anything that they find interesting. But we also work with for corporate training. So we work with big international companies like Nestle, Caterpillar, Michelin, and so on. In that case, it's like trying to increase the impact of the corporate training programs, which could be about boosting the leadership abilities of their managers, or boosting the knowledge about the products for the sales team, or boosting innovation, and so on. So there's a lot of learning nowadays that goes on throughout the career, and corporate training covers that. And of course, we work also a lot with educational institutions like universities, business schools, technical schools, professional training centers, and so on. And in that case, it's really focusing on students that are working on developing their skills. So in that case, I think the most interesting part will be really education, because you're a university. So we'll dive into this part here. And here, I guess the benefits are mostly to help the students have more success in their learning, and also to help the professors to better understand what is going on in their cohorts and in their classes. So to have some real-time insights on the learning progress, instead of staying in the dark and not really knowing if the students are getting it or not. Yeah, so maybe we start with how it works. So the idea is that to provide an AI mentor, which comes in the form of an app, like on the phone or the computer, to each of the students that are maybe taking a certain course, or maybe a certain training in a subject. So it's very easy to deploy. and it will come not as a disruptive tool, so you don't have to change everything you're doing. It will just come as a complement that will just strengthen the effectiveness of your learning program that is already in place. So this is a key point to highlight. So first, the deployment. So as I mentioned before, the first step is to create this micro learning. And this will be done by simply taking your course materials as they are. So usually it's a collection of PowerPoints, maybe. It could be lecture notes, it could be videos, or it could already be some form of e-learning contents. Whatever you show to your students, this is what you send us. And then we show that to our AI that will be able to analyze everything and transform the key points and the key ideas from your course material into some effective micro-learning contents. So we have an internal team of pedagogy experts and AI experts that makes this process very fast, and you can, in a few days, starting from the moment where we receive your course material, after a few days, it's already operational and you can launch it in your class. So this is the deployments. So of course, the personalization is the key thing. So when they use the MAGMA Mentor, there will be an adaptation of the entire learning process. So who sees which content at which time, in which form, with which level of difficulty, and almost an infinity of different decisions to make will be done by the AI mentor in a personalized way for each student. And this means that it will cater to their needs, and it will also be perfect for their individual abilities that vary a lot. Some people are maybe high potential learners, and some people have maybe learning disabilities. And all of the personalization process will adapt to make sure that they are successful. We see also increased engagement with this approach, because usually if we compare it to other kind of e-learning platforms or learning management systems, what is very boring for the students and not engaging is that they all see the same content, and it's a very linear content. So it's like module 1, click, check, module 2, check, module 3, and it's like putting them to sleep almost. So this is historically this kind of system, and also like a video, like online courses, this kind of thing, they have a very low engagement and fulfillment rate, because they are very uniform, and this is not really adapted to the needs of the students. So here we get the opposite with the active micro-learning and the personalization. They get something that is more and more engaging as they use it, and therefore the motivation grows as they use it. And there's also this, this concept of agility, which means that the app, in just one click on their phone, they can be learning and do like a 5-minute session every day, for example. And this will accumulate to really exponential benefits over the weeks and the months. And if they prefer to use it on their computer, it's also completely synchronized. So it's very flexible. All right. So as a professor, what you get from it is not only that your students are better and they learn better, which is already very rewarding, but you also get a lot of monitoring and tracking of what is going on in real time among your students. So you know if they are having difficulty with a specific topic, for example, or a chapter or something, you can see this very quickly, and then you can maybe react and make sure that everybody is on the right page. So all the data that is used by the AI to understand the students and personalize the learning process can also be shown to you. And we have a lot of different visualizations and graphics where you can see how they're progressing, who's learning well, who's not so good, and so on. And I think also one interesting aspect. So I mentioned that even though on the app there's a lot of questions, this is not an exam tool or assessment tool, but you can indirectly you can maybe replace some of your exams, as some of our academic clients do, like EHL or Unidistance, for example. You can replace your exams, or at least part of your exams, by the assessment that is continuously made by the AI mentor. So in a sense, because personalization requires a very good understanding of who knows what and how well, it becomes pointless to have students sit through an exam, because the AI mentor will already know their grades, in a sense. So we have done some studies where the AI was able to predict or correlate it very strongly with the exam grade. And therefore, the exams can be simplified and maybe focus on more practical or more elaborate essays and things like this. But all the theoretical, conceptual knowledge can be assessed continuously and much more effectively and also fairly throughout the learning process by the AI mentor. All right. Benefits. Did we look at this? I don't remember. Yeah, okay. So now what are the benefits? So the benefits is that, in contrary to other e-learning experiences, here all of the content on the app is exactly a reflection of what students will see in their course materials, because it has been generated from it. So it means that the app will be seen as very relevant to the success of the course. And this is also guaranteeing that there's no contradictions or differences between what they hear in the course and then what they see on the app. So it's very important for the students to feel that any kind of innovation or learning software is very relevant, and in most cases they are not, but with this approach it's kind of guaranteed that they will recognize that it's very helpful for their specific courses. Yeah, so the effectiveness, of course, for the students, and we also mentioned that the insights of monitoring the progress is also very beneficial. And you can get weekly reports about your students, and this allows you to adjust the strategies. And I guess, yeah, the engagement is also boosted both by the personalization and by the playfulness of the experience. Okay, so maybe we can look at a few use cases. So it's used in schools and universities to help students and also provide teachers and professors with some insights. We can look at Unidistance here, for example. So here it's an online university at the bachelor and master level in Switzerland. And we were able to demonstrate that the students who used the app had significantly higher grade at the end of the semester compared to the ones who did not use it, so the control group. And we've published even a research article about this, which was recently published in the Journal for Education Technology. And you can also access the preprint here for free. And some of the professors who used it mentioned that the students all rave about the app, and they're very happy to have implemented it because it really pleases the students, and it also helps them achieve higher grades. So I see there's a question. You need the course content sent to you for creation of the tailored app. What about intellectual property? Yes, okay, excellent question. So yes, this is the process. You send us the contents from your courses, so your lecture notes that you've spent a lot of work and time creating. And of course, this completely stays your intellectual property. So nothing will be changed, and it will not be shown to anybody else than your own students. So it's like very protected, and the documents that you send us will stay confidential except for the students that you decide have access to it. So the intellectual property remains completely yours, and also all of the micro-learning contents, so the summaries, the questions, and so on that are generated by our AI from your documents will also be yours. So everything is yours, and we don't keep any intellectual property from that. So this is indeed a very important question, because as a professor who spent a lot of time writing things, it should be very important that you will not certainly see it on the internet and lose your work. Is there a way to look at the research article? Yes. Okay. So if you're on the website, you can just click here. So I can show you. So here it's the actual website of the journal, but I think you have to buy the article. I don't know. Maybe your university has access, but maybe for easier access, I can give you the preprint. So this is the same. Well, it has like a few words difference because of the referring process, but it's essentially exactly the same article. So here you can get it on the archive website. Can you explain what the micro-learning introduce? So I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure I understand exactly what you mean, but the micro-learning is just, in terms of content, it will be small key points and questions that are extracted or inspired by your course material. So you can think of the micro-learning as just a transformation of what you've created in terms of material for your courses. And that looks like small pieces, small bites of learning in usually in an interactive form, which means it's like a question, like a multiple choice question or something like this. Do instructors need extensive training to use MAGMA after a course is deployed? Yeah, so in the second hour of this workshop, we can look into that, and you will see hopefully that it's quite easy to use. And in fact, yeah, there's not much to do. And in fact, if the professors don't want to do anything at all, this is also an option, apart from, of course, sending the training documents. We take care of all the rest, which is generating the micro-learning contents and then providing it to the students who, by their own, can use the app without any supervision or without much effort. But we will see in more detail in the second hour how this works. And I see David Berry says, it seems like a lot of work. Can you elaborate on this? Like, where do you see a lot of work? Like for us or for the professors or for the students?
Maxime, actually, there are a couple of questions in the chat that
Okay.
I want just to remind you about it, just if you can elaborate more. For example, one of the question was, this is the usual fear of that AI mentor will replace us as a teachers.
Okay.
So we can elaborate in this one as well. The question about, how the system or AI system will analyze the students' skills and capabilities. I think you touched base onto some insight, but if you can elaborate more in this as well.
All
so
right.
those,
Thank you very much. I missed those points. So first about the replacement of teachers. So in fact, we see it as just the opposite, because if in the learning process, there is first you need to master the conceptual knowledge in order to be able to start discussing about a subject. So if you don't even know the definitions and what has been done in the past, it's very hard to come up with new ideas and discuss in a meaningful way about a subject. And usually for professors, this is what they love about their job, is that they can engage meaningfully and creatively with students But for that, students need to have mastered the basics and the theoretical basics. So the AI mentor will take care of that part of helping the students master the theoretical essentials and have some solid knowledge and factual knowledge that they can use in their reflection and in their discussions. And then this means for the professors that the actual contact that they have with their students can be focused on much more interesting things, not just introducing the definitions and the basic theoretical framework, but discussing about what this could mean, what are new ideas and innovations. And so it makes the job of the professor much more enjoyable because focused on higher level learning activities. So, and this is indeed usually the way that the professors that we've worked with felt about their class. So that was using the AI Mentor app. It's like having certainly only brilliant students in your course. So I think most professors will be happy with this, and instead of having to maybe focus on helping all the students be at the same level. So I hope this is reassuring. It's not a replacement. It's like, well, it replaces the theoretical knowledge part, but it enhances and it frees time for the more interesting practical exercise, discussion, thinking, and so on. And what was the next point?
Was about actually the, how to analyze the students. And actually we have another question here. It's kind of, I think the thing, if I just relate those two questions together, like, how to analyze the students, skills and so on, and even how to identify or classify the students, like student X has a difficulty in such thing, Y has a difficulty. So do we have an access for such deep analysis that we can identify even students who are struggling into certain part and the students are struggling in different parts as well? And how this will also motivate student to stay engaged as well. That's the other question. So I think they are all together related in somehow.
Yes, I see. So first, how does the AI mentor analyze and understand the students? This is done through their interactions. So when the student opens the app, usually we recommend like 5 to 15 minutes per day. What they will see is some questions that the AI mentor has think are the most useful and beneficial for that specific student. And then the student will give answers to those questions by clicking or typing some text or in any kind of way. And those are the answers provided by the students is the data that our AI will use to understand the knowledge level of each of the students. So it may look like magic, but in fact, this is what machine learning and artificial neural networks are able to do nowadays. You give them a lot of data about someone's mind, and they're able to understand what's going on in their minds, and more specifically about whether their knowledge is getting consolidated or is gradually disappearing. And of course, all this data, as I mentioned, is presented for the professors and the teachers as analytics, where they can see either as an average for their groups, they can see how it's going, or they can zoom in and look at a specific individual, a specific student, and see exactly where they might be struggling, in which chapter of which course, and react as soon as possible to help them really succeed. And I think there's also this question about motivation. So here, about motivation, the key thing is that it has to be relevant, and we achieve relevance through this process of personalization. So because the AI mentor knows what's going on in the mind of each student, they're able every day to give them the content that is as beneficial as possible. And this creates a joy of learning, and this becomes almost addictive, and this is how they stay motivated and engaged. And of course, there is some aspects of gamifications. So there are leaderboards, and there are a lot of metrics where they can compete and try to improve their scores and so on. So they can also challenge each other through some battles, and so all this kind of gamification aspect, which we try to not overdo, but there is a significant side of the app which will play on this kind of reward system in the brain. Yes. So an email, yes. So I gave my email above. I'm happy to give it again. I'm sure the organizers also can also provide it to you afterwards if needed. So if there is a low learning rate for some students, how the AI will deal with the time factor? I mean, there are certain dates for tests. Yeah, so maybe you mentioned that they have exams at a certain date in the semester, and how will they kind of adapt the learning on the app to prepare for that? Well, in a sense, this is exactly if the student is like, oh, tomorrow I have an exam, I'm going to only study this subject. This is the surest way to to ensure that 1 week later they have forgotten everything. So they might very well get the top grade at the exam, but 1 week later everything will be gone. So what we're trying to put forward with this AI mentor is that they should work less, actually. They should work like 5 minutes every day on a subject, and when they arrive at the exam, everything will be just very strong and crystal clear in their minds. So they will not have to panic and work like all night before the exam. So this is what we're trying to avoid. So they should trust the AI. They should say, okay, this semester I have like 6 subjects. Here are the documents, and help me master that. And the AI will make sure that this happens. And the students don't have to have all the pressure of deciding what should I study today and what should I wait. This being said, they also have on the app the ability to activate or deactivate certain topics. So if one day they really don't feel like a specific topic, they can just deactivate it, and the AI will leave them alone about this topic for a while. Very nice. So maybe I can show you some other use cases. So this was computer science students. I think there were 500 students. So this is an experiment already made in 2019 at EPFL. And we were able to show that without our app, they had on average 4.0 out of 6 at the exam. And with our app, 4.8 out of 6. So it's a really significant increase in grades that was detected through the usage of our app. And yeah, there are a lot of other things like IMD, EHL, and so on, where at EHL we had a similar jump from 5.2 to 5.7 out of 6, and so on. So if you're interested, you can look into more use cases over there. And yeah, I think we've kind of covered everything. The last thing is the app itself, so called MAGMA Mentor. And yeah, it's just an app on your phone or your computer, and you can download it for iPhone, Android, or just access the web link. And this will be what we focus on for the second hour. I see there's another question. So course and course material are designed by human teachers. Does your app provide feedback to teachers on how to improve certain aspects of their course and material, or just build on what was provided? It would seem to me. Yeah, I mean, the answer is that it does not provide feedback to the professors. So it will assume that what the teachers provide is the truth and is kind of perfection in a sense. But this being said, technically, it's very possible to provide feedback. And in fact, we also work with professors that do not have lecture notes or any kind of written material. They just have like a topic and maybe like a lecture plan. And from that, our AI will be able to generate all the content. So it will be like lecture notes and PowerPoints and things like this. So it can also be used in a sense as a course generation tool, but there are many tools like that on the market. And we are not so much focused on content generation, which we take as an easy problem, but we are more focused on the effectiveness of the learning process given a certain content that is already in place. You said a student can ask AI to help them master the semester is kind of not all good. This can go two-sided. Students can benefit by that. And on the other hand, they could be dependent and guided through their journey. Let's see. I'm not sure I really understand this. So they can benefit because they learn better. So this part I understand. But on the other hand, they could be dependent. I mean, you could say the same thing about a book. You can say, oh, that person is trying to learn quantum physics, and they found this book, and now they're dependent on this book for learning quantum physics. So I'm not sure I fully understand what you mean. And they could be guided through their journey. Yeah, but I mean, this is exactly what we want. We want to guide them through the learning journey, but this is done in a personalized way. So this is not trying to, channel them towards something that is not valid or beneficial for them. It's a system that will try for each of the students to find the most beneficial journey for them. So again, yes, they will be guided, but I think this is also a good thing. And I think those are all good things, what you mentioned. It's good to be dependent to a learning tool. It's like being dependent on oxygen to breathe, for example. And it's also good to be guided through your journey, but maybe you're thinking they will be misguided. So, for example, there will be biases in the AI and it will try to teach them only a certain perspective and things like this. But this is impossible because the content is what you have provided. So this is what the target is. And it will also adapt to their needs. So it cannot misguide them. In fact, it will adapt to them as much as possible. We want them to know time management and other social skills. Yeah, I mean, any subject is can be teachable through this process. So you can say, I need to learn about time management, and it will show you a learning plan to do that, or maybe you have documents about this. And also for social skills, there's a lot of theoretical knowledge that is necessary and that you need to know very well in order to be able to apply them in high pressure situations. I think convincing us to use AI for learning is the key. Many prefer to use it as an easy option in assessment. Yes. I guess in assessment. So you mean maybe like a quiz app or something like this, and maybe they at the end of a course they take like a quiz, but then you don't need AI for that. So for assessment, you don't need really AI. Oh, unless you mean maybe it's like open questions. So they have to write like a paragraph or an essay, and then the AI will kind of automatically grade this. I know there is a lot of startups that are doing this. But yeah, this is not really the point of what we do. What we do is that the learning process itself is very complicated and personal, and this is what we enhance.
Maxime,
So,
if we
yes.
can move to the practical, and then we can answer any new questions.
Yeah, sounds good. Excellent. So I guess I just click on here, and now I'm on the app. So what I suggest to make it a bit interactive also is that all of you who want to go through the process, we can do it together. So we can start new accounts, and this way we can see how the experience looks like. So of course, and this is important to understand, what I will demonstrate is kind of the B2C or the individual learner experience. And it's not the B2B or organizational academic experience, because here all the content will be generated automatically without going through us, which is the recommended way for academic settings. So let me log out and recreate. Yeah, so, okay, so you can all go to this address here, maybe even this one. So I give it in the chat. So it's just magmamentor.com. And you arrive on that page here. And you click on the button Start Learning Now. And it will ask you to sign up. So you have to click on the sign up button here. So don't do the login. You have to click on the sign up. So you need sign up here. And then you can put in your email. So I'll just create a new account here. I mean, it's just temporary account. And you click on sign up. Okay, great. So I already have an account with this, so I will just remove it. Yeah, that's fine. So, oops. Yeah, it could be a problem. Okay, so I guess you're getting ahead of me because I have first to delete my account before I can create one with the same password, with the same email, I mean. So here I will just delete my account. Okay. And now I can recreate an account there. Okay. So the first step is verification. So you will receive an email with a 6-digit number, and this will guarantee that it's really you. So this is kind of a security measure that is applied for every new user on the app. So in my case, it was this, and submit. Then you can choose your language. I mean, there are a few languages. Just leave it at English. And then you arrive at that page here. So it asks you, what do you want to learn? So if you have any troubles or anything, just feel free to ask a question or react or let me know. I can say neural networks, for example, like feel free to put anything that is relevant to you. And if you want, you can put some context. So you could say like a master level, for example, or you could say any kind of context that is interesting. You could say, I want this for image recognition or anything. And then continue. So let me know which topics you've selected to learn. So the first step is that it asks you to clarify your goal. So you can say, I want you select one of the options that is here, or you can write your own goal. And now it will generate a learning plan that is based on the topic that you've provided. The learning plan is composed of chapters and sections. And you can decide, oh, I don't want this topic. And in that case, you deactivate it. So I'll just deactivate a few like this. And then it's on. So the app will generate content for you. And again, this is the version of the app that auto-generates the content, as opposed to what you would do as a professor, which is sending us your content, and then we create a dedicated app that has all your content in it already. So here we're having a slightly different experience, but it will already give you the idea of how it works. So we can see here I'm in, and I have some sort of animations, and there are some small tutorials. So here it says, this is your LearnNet. So the LearnNet is the learning network. So it's all the concepts and how they connect to each other. And it represents the learning process. So each point is a key concept. So for example, this one is bidirectional context and so on. So yeah, we see that there are all different neural networks contexts in this case. And there's only one button really on the app, which is this huge learn button. So it couldn't be simpler for the students. They get there, they click on learn, and the content from your courses will already be there for them. And now it started. So we see we have our first little lesson. And we see it's a small summary of a key fact that needs to be known about feed-forward networks. So we can say, I love it, and I want to learn more about it, or put it to the trash and I don't want to hear about it anymore. And here we see it's the first question that we see. So it's kind of a multiple choice question asking us about residual networks. So it doesn't matter much, we can reply anything, but in the end, we see the correct answer appearing. So it's not just a test, it's really active learning in the sense that the solution and the feedback is always provided such that we can learn from our mistakes. Here we see another key point, and then some other questions and so on. And yeah, and the process is ongoing. And here we see some sort of feedback in terms of those learning curves that are starting to get personalized based on our answers. So yeah, that's it. We're in it. Okay, so someone says, I signed up and put the subject I'm interested, but nothing was generated. Okay, Suzanne, so that's surprising. So what do you see on the screen then? Okay, good. Then I see a screenshot here. Yes. Okay. So indeed, the content will be generated gradually. So at first, there's only maybe 20 questions and summaries. And the more we learn, the more the content will appear. So this is, again, this is something that is specific to the individual learner app or version of the app. And when we do an academic version of the app, all of the content will already be ready from the get-go. So there won't be any need to wait for the content to gradually be generated. Oh, I see. Yes, it seems that you've had a problem with this screenshot. Very strange. Let's see. So please, yes. What I would recommend is that you try to redo the introduction. So maybe something went wrong. It's hard to say what, but if you go to this URL, you might have a chance to redo the introduction. It will ask you again, what do you want to learn? And then it will work. So yeah, no, the app and the website really works the same way. Yeah, so you've seen on my screen, it also worked for me. So I guess it works for most people. I don't know what could be the case in here. Is there anybody else who had some problem or some success with getting to that stage inside the app? It's working fine for Muhammad. It doesn't work for Naima. Okay, so what seems to be the problem, Naima? Okay. So it's fine. It seems to be fine for most people. And maybe depending on the topic, which for the people where it did not work, what was the topic? And did you deselect everything in the learning plan? In which case there will be nothing left. So it would make sense that there's nothing. But okay, so it seems to work for most people. So I got good materials. So I'm not sure what you mean by this, I got good materials. You mean that you have your own lecture notes? Yes, you can upload resources. Oops, no, I don't want to be there. Sorry. Yeah. You can upload resources by clicking on the plus here. So usually this comes, you might have to refresh the page or something because this is not meant to show up in the first usage of the app. But here you can say, okay, I want to give some PDF or something like this. You can say maybe I have pictures also that I want to upload, which could be like a scan of an image. So I can show you here how it will look like. What could I take? Like, what would be significant? Maybe I could just take like any random page here. So we see this is a textbook about physics. And we can say, for example, oh, I'm interested in this footnote here. So I want to know this footnote here. And then you say, just go. And it will generate content from that image. And you can also upload a PDF. How much is free? Yes, you're right. So this is the free version, but actually there's a premium version that will kick in quite soon, unfortunately. So with the free version, you can just do 1 lesson per day, which is 12 questions per day. And this means that it's not a lot, but it's already quite something. But if you want, of course, to go faster and to generate more content, you have to subscribe to the premium version. But again, let me try to highlight again that this experience that we're doing is kind of the solo experience. When we work with the faculty or with an academic institution, a lot of the work will be done by us. So the generation and all of that will be done by us. And then we already have a different pricing system for the generation part and then for the student part. Okay, given that sometimes cheating is a big issue during exams, another form of assessment, would the AI be able to personalize the assessment for a student? Yeah, that's a good point. So you could have like a different exam for each student, if that's what you mean. But what I was trying to say before is that the exams themselves are not needed anymore when you have an AI mentor who knows very well your level, your mastery level. So there is an argument to be made that exams, at least certain parts of the exams, the more theoretical, conceptual parts or factual, are not needed anymore because the AI mentor can give you a full visibility on the skills and the knowledge levels of your students. Oh yeah, Ahmed already reached the daily limit, so I'm sorry, but the experiment was a bit short in your case. But indeed, if you do a few lessons, then after a while it will say, please come back tomorrow. And tomorrow you will have again the possibility to learn a few more things. But it's not really that important in terms of the demonstration because you can interact a bit with the app and see how it would feel for the students and for yourself. I can show you a few other things. So what we see in front of us here is this visualization of learning. So if we zoom out, we see only one sphere, which is neural networks. In my case, it was a topic that I gave. And if I zoom in, I see now the chapters, which is feed-forward networks, generative networks, and so on. And if I continue zooming in, then I see the subsections and then all the way up to the individual concepts from my courses. And I can click on, let's say, this one, dynamic routing. In this case, the content is not yet unlocked, so you need to keep learning, and it will be generated. And you can see how you're doing on the different topics. So here we have this topic about autoencoders. We see that I'm at 79% for now, but of course, I've just started 5 minutes ago, so the AI doesn't know much about me. So it's just guessing for now based on the difficulty of the content and on my first few answers. But gradually, it will become more and more detailed about the understanding of my grasp or mastery levels. Most of what I have seen is only information, but not cited research. You mean on the app itself? Those key points will not come with links or citations to research. They are just generated from the knowledge of the LLM, the general knowledge in a sense. But again, this is just like a free solo user version that we're seeing. And if you send us your training material with the research, then all of that can go into creating the content. And then in that case, you will always have a link from the app to the page of your lecture notes or the research papers that inspired the question. So there's always this connection between the app and the original documents that you provided to us in a real setting of academic collaboration. Yes, exactly. That's you can upload your resources. Yeah, I see. It seems to be stuck for Suzanne. I'm sorry about this. I mean, if you want to contact me afterwards, we can try to figure it out. But there seems to be a problem indeed in your case.
Maxime, just to mention, because I face also a problem. So my colleague just need to close the app and try it again. Okay. Yes, and open it again. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's always great to, when you have a problem, you have to fully close it, open it again, refresh, and maybe it will work.
Because here, like I have also my colleague here sitting, near me, so we have the same problem. So
okay,
just close the app, open it again, and I think it works.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Is it the case for Suzanne? I see you're saying thank you. Does it mean that it works now that you've restarted? And also it seems to work for, well, Youssef. Okay, nice. So I can show you a few more things about the app. So if you go to the menu here, there's a few pages. You can go to contents, for example, and here you can see what sort of content you have. So in my case, I have this neural network learning plan. There is also this document that I uploaded about path integral, and I can then dive in. I can look at the neural network, for example, and we see that there are some questions that have been generated here. And then this is very important that as a creator or as someone in charge of the content, like professors in a university, you can always modify it. So if you think this question needs some change, you can click on the little pencil icon here, and you can start improving the title, adding some more answers and so on. So there's always a possibility to adapt what has been automatically generated and make it more in your style maybe, or adapted to your courses. And you could, if you don't like it at all, you can just click on the trash and it will just eliminate that question. So yeah, here we have an example where the question was generated from a document. So you see that it comes with a link, and you can always click on the link, open the document, and this is the page of the book that I gave to the app. And we can see I circled that part here. And I can say, okay, I understand it. It saw this book and it generated this question from it. And I can make sure that it covers what I intended. And this will be the same with your lecture notes. There will always be a link under the question that allows yourself, but also your students, to access the specific page in your documents that inspired the question generated on the app. And yeah, we see that this is like full-on LaTeX. So for those of you that have like scientific or mathematic contents in your courses, you can see that you can use this LaTeX syntax with the $, and it will be understood. Like this \delta will then turn into the Greek delta letter that is used in mathematics, for example. And so it's very flexible in terms of the type of content. And I should say also they could be images. So you can add an image. Let me try if I can do it. So if you click on the plus next to the image here, you could add an image. Well, maybe I could just, well, I don't have a good image at my disposal here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just take a page like this. So it's not really an image, but it will just give you an idea. So I save it like this. And now you see there is some graphics that appear on top of the question. And then the question could be about what is seen in the image. So it could be useful in a whole lot of subjects where you need to recognize objects or analyze some graphs or think visually, all those things. So this was kind of the content management section. There's also a progress section where you can see your own progress. So here, because it's a new account, there is not much to see, but basically you can see how much you spent on the app, the number of answers, the evolution of your knowledge levels, and you can zoom in on different topics. So you can say about neural networks, what are my knowledge levels? And you can see there was some change when I answered here, and then it stabilized again to something. But this is just minimal because of course the app is just like very young with this account. So this is to motivate them. They can also look at the leaderboard, and in that case they will see like their friends or their fellow students, and they can decide to compete on different categories of metrics. So this is the side of the app that is gamifying a bit and trying to generate some competition between the students. You can do battles. So here, if you have friends, or with the academic version, you already have a group of fellow students, you can challenge them, and then you will see questions that come in parallel on your phone and on their phone. And you can see who is answering correctly and who is incorrect. And so it's a battle of who knows the most about a specific topic. In the settings, you can add a picture, for example, to personalize it, change your username, the language, you can change it to light mode or dark mode. And you can also go on private mode. So if you do not want to be in the leaderboard, because you just want to learn, without being compared, you can go to the private mode, and then you do not appear publicly on any leaderboard page. Yes, so that's kind of about it on this side. Is there any other questions? I tried a document, but nothing happened. Okay, let's see what this was. Yeah, I think you just need to give it maybe 30 seconds. It needs to analyze the document, and then it will gradually generate things. So maybe you can keep refreshing the page, And I would recommend maybe going to the content section here in the menu, and you should see a new topic appearing here. It will focus on the first 3 or 4 pages of your document, and it will create maybe 10, 20 questions about this. And then the more you learn, the more it will go through the document. So I can show you some more functionalities during the lesson here. Is that, let's say I have a question like this one. Drawback of really revelation. Yeah, so let's say I answer incorrectly, and I don't understand why it was incorrect. So in that case, I can ask the AI. So I can just lift this up, and I can either ask a question, or I could just simply say, explain. And the AI will look at the question, it will look at the incorrect answer I gave, and it will try to explain what was my mistake and then how to think about it more correctly. So it says here, for example, your answer, which was vanishing gradient, is incorrect in this context, as it typically associated, and so on. So that's basically an explanation of my mistake to help me go beyond my lack of knowledge. So this is a little bit like a chatbot, you could say. Like it's a small like chatting functionality, but it's very useful for students when they don't fully understand why the answer they gave was not correct. And of course, they also have access in the full academic version of the app. They also have access to your lecture notes, where there should be a full explanation of the source of that question. Yes. So, is there any more questions about this, or anybody having some issues?
Can I ask here, please?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Now, if I am a student, how can I be sure that the recommended questions will not go away from my doctor lessons? I mean, how
Go
can I
away
be sure?
in
Yes.
the sense that they will be shown to other people. What do you mean?
I mean, if I am a student, okay,
Yes.
and how can I be sure that the course material will be in the same line of the course of the doctor, of my doctor, even if I
yes.
upload the material, even if I upload the material of the doctor, but how can
Yes.
I be sure that I will not go away from his focusing or his questions?
Yes, I understand. So again, if you want to do this as a professor at UAE University, this is not what I'm showing here is not the way to do it. The way to do it is to send us your documents, and then we will generate like hundreds and thousands of questions and summaries on the app. So this will be fixed for all of the students. It will be fixed. They have maybe, I don't know, 500 questions that are directly inspired from your own lecture notes and PowerPoints and whatever you have. And so, and you can also decide to check that it matches by going through the questions and validating them and editing them if needed. But usually it's very close and very good quality, inspired by the original content. So if you are a student at UAE University and your professor has deployed the app for your course, you don't have to worry about the relevance of the content on the app, because it will be the same as the content in the lecture notes from your professor. It's only if you decide to do it alone in isolation, independently, that you need to make sure yourself that it's the same content in the app and in the lecture notes. But you see, I can show you the example that I've done here. So you see, here I've provided this document. I've provided this page here. And I've circled this here. And you can see that it talks about functional derivative and delta Q and so on. And then if you look at the question here, it's exactly the same. So it's a functional derivative, delta Q, and so on. So the content is really the same. And if to control it, to make sure that it's the same, you can just click on the link and verify that it matches with the content on the app. So there's always this very close connection. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, sure. Suzanne, I'd be happy to have another meeting. Just contact me at my email and we can sort this out.
Maxime, I think there is an important question.
Yes.
From our colleague that she did ask what she noticed from when you demo the MAGMA learning for us. It's like based on text information, etc. She said some students, they may like to see images, figures, videos, or maybe they need to listen to some information like audios or something. So honestly, she
Yes.
brought, I mean, following up with her question, or to rephrase that question, is MAGMA learning could be used for students with disabilities or with special needs?
Yes, that's a great question. So yes, so the personalization will adapt to the learning abilities of all of the students. So if they go very fast, the app will go faster. If they need more time, it will adapt to them. So people with learning disabilities might indeed have a very different experience on the app because it will take more time and they might have more explanations and so on that will help them progress and reach the desired level. About the figures, so it's possible, like I've shown here. Well, it's actually a figure. It's an image of a page of text, so it's not like a great image, but it's the only one I had available. But here you could put any image you want, like a figure of an object or a graph or anything, and then this could be part of a visual question. So we can also enrich the content by having images or even small videos inside the app. But again, when you say, like, when we think about videos or even about listening to the information, this is a type of learning that is very passive. So if you think, oh, I have like 20 minutes, I'm just going to listen like a podcast or something, and I'm going to cook at the same time. This is not what the app does. The app does a complement to that. So maybe you've listened to something, you've watched a video, or you have been to a lecture, and the app knows what was in those learning experiences, and it will come back at you with a question. So you have to be active, and it will stimulate you to be active and to go beyond passive listening or passive watching. So really the essence of the app is to complement the passive absorption of knowledge by something which is a stimulating challenge. So there's a question, can it help students with their projects? So what is a project? It could be many things. Do you mean like a research project? Like hands-on projects, design. So no, so it's not an assistant. It is not like some sort of assistant that helps us perform a task. What this app does, the MAGMA Mentor, is kind of the opposite. it cares about you, and it knows what you know and what you're forgetting and what you don't know. And it will stimulate you with questions to grow your knowledge. But you cannot go on MAGMA Mentor and say, help me with my design project. This is not how it works. MAGMA Mentor is deciding what activities you should do and which question you should answer for you, in a sense, but it's for your benefit. Can it give feedback? It can give feedback on the questions and on the answers, as I showed here. So let's try to do this again, if I don't reach the limit also myself. But so yeah, those are just key points. So there's not much feedback to give. But here, for example, there's a question. So let me try to answer completely wrong, like this. Oh no, it was correct. So when you try to answer incorrectly, it's correct. But you can still ask a question. So for example, it says, you can say it mentions matrix. So you can say, you don't know what a matrix is. So you say, what is a matrix? Matrix, and then it will give you some explanation. But if you also, if you answer incorrectly, it can give you feedback in the sense that it will explain your mistake and point you towards the correct answer. So I can show you now that we've done the experience with the individual app. I can show you what it looks like with the actual B2B app. So this means that this is more like what you will have as a professor. It has extra pages that will allow you to monitor the progress of your students. So here we have a lot of content that's already generated, but let's see. Oh yeah, okay. We see that we have some extra pages here, like analytics, for example. And in the analytics, you can see the evolution of your students. So you can see who was active this day, how many answers they gave, what was their success rate for the different topics. And you can decide to go on a specific topic. So you can go the history of the world, for example, here, and it will give you feedback on how your students are doing on this and how many answers they gave and so on. And you can decide, okay, I'm interested in a group, maybe all the MAGMA group, or maybe I'm just interested in one person. So just Maxime here. And in that case, you will see how they've done. So this is the grasp is kind of their mastery level. And you can see how it evolved through time and make sure that they were active, that they gave answers, and you can check that their success level improved correctly. So here we can see that basically 3 chapters were activated, and we can see that the success level improved and reached almost 100% for all of them. So this is the type of data and feedback that you will get as a professor. And of course, the students don't have access to all this data themselves. And there's also a very intuitive user management page where you can see a table of users and invite them simply by just an email address. And you can say, I want them to have access to oceanography and cosmology, for example, and you invite them with a specific topic that is activated for them. And you can see like evolutions of their activity and so on. So this is more the full version, in a sense that as a professor, you have access to. And you can see you have 700 questions here. So the full content is in place and it's already very, very high quality. So here, if we do a lesson, we will see that there are also a few more options. So you have, for example, access to the resource. So this little text here will give you access to the page that inspired the question. Then the little flag, you can say maybe there's a problem or a mistake in the question, which can happen. It's very rare, but there is a quick way to signal it if you find it. And you can maybe write a question or a comment here that can then be consulted. And of course, if you're a professor, you can also modify it or cancel it. And let's, yeah, so again, you can ask questions, you have a bit more information, you can access the PDF all the time, and it creates this very close connection between your own lecture notes and the content on the app. In our PowerPoint slides, we have some web links and videos, extra resources. Does your system read this content and include it? Yes, so you would send us the PowerPoint slides, and our team of experts will do all this work, because the AI will not do it alone. So it will not like click on the links and whatever. So when you send us the documents, we process them and analyze them with our pedagogy experts, and then we give it in already a cleaned way to the app to make sure that it generates the contents at a very high quality level. But yeah, PowerPoint slides are great, and if you have extra links and videos, this is also great resources. What does eureka mean? So that's a good point. So this is a Greek word that Archimedes is supposed to have pronounced in his bath, and it means basically I found it. So it's something that you would say when you realize something, or when you understand something. Eureka! It's like I found it. So yeah, it's just like a small joke in a sense that that we put there. And also, if you reply incorrectly, it will say erarum humanum est, which means to err is human.
Maxime,
Yes?
I have a question. Let's say I provide you slides and they have mistakes. So does MAGMA learning will be built on, I mean, on that errors, or there is a way that they can fix the mistakes on the slides?
Okay, so if I understood correctly, you're saying that you have slides, but there are some mistakes on the slides.
Exactly.
And then will there also be a mistake? So yeah, that's a great point. And in many cases where it was really a mistake, the AI corrected the mistake. So the AI will correct the mistakes. But of course, sometimes we don't want it to take too much liberty to improvise. So we try to tell it, do not change anything. But we have observed in a few cases that were really good, that mistakes were corrected. So this is, yeah, this is something that can very well happen. It's a way to kind of clean up your slides in a sense. But in all cases, when you see a question like here, and you realize, oh, actually, there's a mistake here, it's not quantum, it's classical, then you can also correct it yourself at any time.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we reach, I mean, to the end, and maybe last question before we just end up. I mean, based on your experience, that MAGMA learning has been used by many universities, or I would say institutions. Where have you seen MAGMA learning was really very efficient? Like which topics? Mathematics, computer science topics, maybe, I don't know, other topics of physics. So what do you have?
Really, it's really not about the topics. It works for all the topics. So we've worked on very soft skills like communication, negotiation, management, something like this, and then very hard skills also in science, and like really anything. It could be a hobby like a sport. It could be like bricklayers. We have a program for that, for example. So there's really no limitation on the type of topic. And it's beneficial in all those topics for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I think since we reached to 7 p.m. here in UAE, so we really appreciate your time. The session was very, I would say, informative, and we were very happy And yeah, so we are, of course, as a center for excellence in teaching and learning, maybe for further collaboration soon. So thank you so much. And I would like also to thank my colleagues for their time and for attending the session. So yeah, okay, so I think that is just last question from the, sorry for that, Maxime. So once the course is designed and deployed, can we make changes ourselves, or we need again to go back to you?
Yes, you can make changes yourself. As I've shown, you have access to the list of questions. You can click on the little pencil, and then you can modify it as you wish. So this is very important that you have also the agency to modify it as you like it.
Okay, so Maxime, thank you so much.
Yeah, that was a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, I'm open to further discussion if there's any more questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.